Hi, my name is Milton Dorda. I was born in Brooklyn, New York, Sunset Park, Maimonides Hospital back in 1955. I was raised by my father, George Dorda. He changed his name from Jose to George because he liked this guy, Jorge Negrete. My mother was named Amparo Dorda, and they both got married and they settled down. And the earliest memories I have is Flatbush Avenue. And then from Flatbush Avenue, we went to Puerto Rico as kids. And from there, we went back to Sunset Park, the place I was born. And we had great times in 270 48th Street. Back then, my brother used to make us laugh. His name was Joseph. It was called Butchie back then. And every night he'd make us laugh. And my father would come out with his hair all crazy and tell us to shut up in Spanish. So I was smart. I used to sleep in the middle of the bed. So when we rolled under, Harry was the younger brother, me, and then Butchie. So my father would come out with the belt and start hitting, but I would never get hit because I was in the middle. I would just go, ah, fake crying. But my father was a good father. He just needed to sleep to go to work in the factory. Like I said, I was raised in 270 48th Street. That building had 24 apartments. That was a mini city within one apartment. When you walked through the hall, you smell was rice and beans, pateles. We used to play till 11 o'clock at night in the streets. We had no cell phones, we had none of this stuff. We just played all day. We got home from school, we played. My problem was I didn't want to go inside. My parents would make me go inside. But we had friends like Joey, Wally, Richo. We'd have a gang of 15 kids like the Little Rascals. You know, we used to do build our clubhouses and go-karts, and everything was handmade in those days. And we had parties. My father would play his accordion on the stoop. And the guy across the street, his name had to be Yomo Toro, one of the famous cuatro players in the world. And he played with the Fania All-Stars. We didn't know that. He just Yomo to us. It was a happy time in the 60s, early 60s. It was just a great time to be a kid. You know, things are so different now. So what was wonderful about living in an apartment building, they have fire escapes. So my mother and father would freak out because I would be going up to roof, 5 floors. I'd be going up as a little 7, 8-year-old, 9-year-old kid. And they look up and they see me on top, ah, you know. And we used to run down and go to the girls' apartments when their parents were there, and we'd go kiss them and stuff back when we were young kids, and we'd run back out. You know, it was a real kiss, you know, it was like a kitty kiss, you know. But fire escapes, and from the roof, we'd go on the roof and fly our kites. So sometimes as we're flying our kites, Huicho would be on the other, opposite side of the street, and we see our kites falling down. So there would be like 10 kites, all the guys on the roof flying their kites. And what happened was Huicho, he would tie razor blades on the end of his tail. So he would come by our kites and he'd guide them, then he'd go like this and he'd chop in our kites that cost us like 5 cents, 10 cents would go. So he was a kamikaze guy who would kill all our kites. Growing up in the 1960s was so different than today. Everybody had respect. The cops, we used to call them La Jara. La Jara means O'Hara, but a lot of Puerto Ricans couldn't pronounce O'Hara, so they used to say, viene La Jara, here comes the O'Hara, really. And if you had your leg up, he hit you with a stick on your kneecap, you couldn't do nothing. You had to respect in those days. If you did something, another parent had the right to not, slap you in your face, okay? Growing up in the 60s, we had, my earliest recollections were the 50s music. Then the 60s came, all the greatest, Motown, the Beatles. We grew up at a time when musicians were musicians. You know, you had to be a singer, play guitar, play instrument, and do everything. But it was an innocent time, but it was also a very crazy time too, with the civil rights going on, assassination of John F. Kennedy, Bobby, and Martin Luther King, and the Vietnam War, So it was innocent because we were children, but there was a lot of things going on, So we did, see some things that woke us up a little, but we always into our Gilligan's Island. Earlier than that, we had better television shows. I don't say better, but they were more Twilight Zone kind of stuff, stuff that are different from today, Okay, when I grew up, my passions were, my cousin Alice used to come and take care of us every summer. And she would bring records. First time she came with these records, she'd have us stand up, and she made me Paul. She made my brother John and Harry, George and Ringo. So she taught us how to sing the Beatles songs. So she introduced me to music. Besides, my father used to play accordion every day of my life since I was a kid. Spanish singer. He could have been a great singer, but he never really pursued it. But my passion was singing, and that's when I started getting into in Dewey. They introduced to the trumpet, the mellophone, and the French horn. And ever since that, I always loved music. I couldn't concentrate in school very much, you know. One time I used to doodle in my book, doodle. And Miss Greenberg calls me and she goes, Milton, I'm gonna call your father. I said, don't call my father. Please don't call my father. She said, I'm calling him. I saw Bobby came over, he missed work, showed up in school, and Miss Greenberg goes, Milton, come here, daughter, come here. So we went to the hallway, and she tells, look what your son did. Look what your son did. Look at all this then. And my father goes, I'm gonna take care of this right now. Boom, I fell on the floor. My father goes, everything's good? Okay, I gotta go back to work. So I left, I was crying, I over-exaggerated. I mean, look what you did. I made it feel like crap, you know? And I got free cookies for a week, you know? So that's the only good thing about that ordeal. Okay, when I was a kid, I didn't have much. My parents are very hard workers. They worked very hard. My mother worked in factories. My father worked in cardboard factories. And I didn't have everything my friends used to have. They used to have nice clothes and nice everything. So I got me a shoe shine box, and in order for me to get the thing, I'd go to a 5 and 10 store and I'd borrow my stuff I needed to work. One time I got caught, I'll say that later. So I used to go shine shoes, and I'd go to the bars, you know, and so I'm like a 7-year-old kid with a shoe box, 8, going into it. They let you in. And I'd go in there, see the women with their hair backs and all looking good, all the guys with their little mustache, and everybody's so cool, and they're shining much. Looking at this saying, whoa, this is nice, this is so nice. But if you painted their socks, they wouldn't pay you. Then I had another job delivering bread for an Italian guy. So I got on his van, and my job was to hold the stick shift. So the doors open on the van, right? I'm on the floor on a chair like this. It wasn't even, and my job was to hold, once he changed gear, I was to hold the gear. And then when he changed it, I'd have to hold that gear. And if I let it go, so that was child abuse. I thought I was gonna get killed. I thought I was gonna die. It was one of the worst jobs I ever had. So I used to play hooky every day. I went to high school 30 days. My mother would give me $1.50. So she found out, and she says, look, go to work, do something. So I said, Mommy signed me out of school. She signed me out of school, 16 years old. I worked in Orbex. In Orbex, I got to work in the pantyhose department. I was a stock clerk. I was so proud. I got my first TV. I got everything, you know. I was $68 a week. I was rich. Madison Square Garden was 2 blocks away from me. Every week I would be in a concert. Every week I'd see Santana or Led Zeppelin or Grateful Dead, Alvin Lee, 10 Years After, Jethro Tull, you name, I've seen the greatest bands ever. We only paid $7, $8. And for John Lennon, I paid $15. I thought that was outrageous at that concert he did for Willowbrook, you know. But it was great working in Orbex. It was a great experience. And I just want to say that because I got to see great bands working near Orbex. After Orbex, I had to choose in life because back in the day, there was some heavy, heavy drugs. Everybody was doing cocaine, heroin, pot, sleeper, downs, uppers, everything. So I had to leave. So I met this guy at the job, and I volunteered to go to the military. I trained running, I got to the military, and I'm surprised how strong I am, because it's not how big you are, it's how strong you are up here. And I found out I'm very strong over here. They taught me how to attack, or you don't retreat, you always attack, you know. And I've had great experience. The funniest place to be is boot camp. Was the funniest place you could be. When the drill instructor said clear the head, and you're sitting on a toilet bowl, and you didn't wipe your ass, you had to get up. So when they said clear the head, because somebody was talking, you see everybody getting up and running in front of you with the ass full of doo-doo. You can't help but laugh, you know? And I went with my friend, Louis Cabeza. My God rest his soul. I took him with me, and thank God I got him there at that time. But it was a great experience. I got to travel the world. I was in Hawaii at 19 years old, Waikiki, Australia. I saw a lot of great things, and it saved my life. So when I came back, a lot of my friends were dying, had AIDS. There was a thing called AIDS coming out, and that's when the men were locking up the zippers at that time. When I joined the Marine Corps, before you joined in those days, they helped you take the test, the recruiter's office. So they helped me take the test, and they said, oh, you're gonna be a driver. So when I went to boot camp and they had us take the test again, the drill instructor goes, he said, you're gonna be at 0311. I go, what is that? You're gonna be doing the same shit you're doing now for the rest of your tour. So basically, the test that I failed it in boot camp. Was an infantryman for the next 3 years. So while out in the field training and you're a squad leader, I was a corporal, as an infantryman. When we were on a couple of hills in Hawaii in the night, and when they told you ambush right or left, the only way to get out of an ambush is to face the ambush and shoot. If somebody's shooting at you, you got to shoot at them, and then their heads will go down. Okay. So basically, when they said ambush right, I walked off a hill, and I kept rolling, and then this nighttime, 1, 2 in the morning, I was hitting all kinds, and boom, I hit a bush, and boom, I hit the ground, and boom, I half knocked out. So up there, I could hear shuffling going on, and I hear, where's Corporal Daughter? Where is he? And I don't know. And one guy goes, I think that motherfucker fell off the hill. You know? So I started cracking up a little. I said, that bastard, I'm over here dying. But it was funny. I found it funny. So long story is they finally went down. I could hear everybody shuffling down, put me on one of those gurneys, and medevaced me to AAA Hospital. And from there, I took a week off, And when I went to there were guys that's doing surgery. They wanted to do surgery. They said, should we go in? Should we not? And I was like, but thank God they didn't have to go into my neck. I do suffer a little dizziness now. I've never claimed that it's stuff I should, but I don't know why I don't. Okay, I'm married to Yolanda, and I met her when I was 13 years old through Joey. And back in the day, we used to have, she was the only girl that her parents had a house with a basement. So we became a friend, and we used to have a lot of parties in her basement, and that's how we met her. And we used to have a lot of them. So when I went in the military in the future, when I got out, I got off at the 36th Street stop in 4th Avenue. So I get off, I start walking, and I said, let me see if this girl still lives here. So I knock on the door, and she comes out, and she's wearing the same pants, like the purple pants that she wore. Like I say, I can't believe you're still wearing the same pants. And she was embarrassed, but it was nice that I reconnected with her. And that's when I got out in 1977. And from there now we became friends. And then a couple of years later we got married. So I know her my whole life. I'm 67, so I know she's 13. So it's a long time that I know my wife. And we're still together. I have 2 sons, my biggest pride of my life. I have Michael, I have Gabriel. They brought me so much joy, these 2 guys. I tried to give them everything I never had. I tried to show them what I become and not what I was. A lot of people like to brag about, I used to do this, I was a blah, blah. I want to show my kids what I become. I'm so proud of Michael. He's written a book. He's got his family and kids. Gabriel, he's a photographer, web designer, 3D, a media mogul in his own right. I'm so proud of them. They both got everything they've went for, they've done, and I love them very much, and I know they're going to be successful a long time, after I'm gone. But they were my joy, and I used to film them all the time, and a lot of people used to say, why are you filming them? Because I never got, my father used to film, but he had millimeter, but I wanted to give them what I never had, because I barely could find a picture of me when I was a kid. I try to give them everything I never had. But they are my pride. They are my pride in my life. I give my life for my boys. Okay, so after I got out of the military, I tried a whole bunch of jobs and stuff, but in the intermediate, I love music. I worked for the Brooklyn Naval Station. That's where I met Victor, my partner in music. And he says I was an a-hole, when I met him, because usually I'm like that. When people meet me, I'm just, I don't know why. But we wound up becoming good friends. So Victor came to the house with White, Vero White, and about this guy starting a band. So we were called the Jamaicans, Jamaican and Puerto Ricans. So Victor became part of the band, and my brother Harry was there. We had Eddie, and we had a big brother Louis. So we played for a while, but we were horrible. So me and Victor looked at it. I said, Victor, man, I really want to I want to make it. I want to be a songwriter. So me and Victor moved away from them and went to the villages and worked with Mark Styles, one of the godfathers of MIDI music. And we met a lot of people that time. We met Eddie Rivera, Andy Panis, Sal Batello, Aldo Marin. I got to meet all these people in Fever. I met a lot of people that made my life, made me want to be hungry. That time we met Demi, and I think he was a genius. I always thought if he kept pursuing it with us, he would have blown it. But we had a great time during those days. And I created Uderis 2 Productions back in. And then my house, my basement was always music, always. When my kids were little and they were in their mother's stomach, I kept the music going. So when they were born, the music wouldn't bother them. So my house in New York was always full of creative stuff, Victor and I. And now we reunited again. And we're going to have a song come out, The Truth Cuts as Sharp as a Knife. And we're doing a movie score with Charlie and Noy. It's called Jekka, and we're doing the movie score for the movie. I've also worked with James Hunter. He's been my partner, and we've produced a whole bunch of movies. And we're going to go see Carrollton now, and we'll have a red carpet. And I've been very blessed with knowing and meeting a lot of talented people. But I really hope to help people make it. But I want to make it first, so let me make it first before I help you, okay? So after a while, my mother was living in our house, and when they decided to just up and move, my mother said, once Gabriel, my youngest son, is a certain age, she's going to Puerto Rico and retire. Well, she did. We had a big party, so she moved to Puerto Rico. So I used to go visit all the time, and I fell in love with, at that time, everything, the people in the country. And little by little, I said, I bought a piece of property there. My wife, I was driving her crazy. And I said, something, we're going to move over here. We're going to buy a piece of property. So as we went visiting, I decided to visit where my grandparents used to live. My grandfather, his name was Alberto Dorta. He married Petra Dorta. He married a señorita, 52 years old, that guy, when his first wife passed away. His first wife and him were first cousins. Everybody in La Barriada, they all married first cousins. But my grandparents were very good to me. I enjoyed visiting them. And I fell in love with Puerto Rico. But I had to leave because things weren't going so good with the politics and all that stuff. So I enjoyed my time there, but it was time to come back to the USA. During my time in Florida, my mother in Puerto Rico, I had to leave Puerto Rico. I came back, got me a job back in the government. I worked in the government, I was able to transfer. So mommy was in Puerto Rico by herself. My father passed away while I was living in Puerto Rico. So I came back to the USA, and then mommy got hurt. So I went down there and I got her and brought her to live with my brother Harry, okay? So after 2 months, she was put in a nursing home because she broke her hip. So mommy wound up staying there for like 2 years, I think it was, or a year. So I had a house, and I didn't want to leave my mother in a nursing home. So I put everything, I almost got a nervous breakdown. I built a brand new house with a room for her. I was trying to sell the house that I lived in, and I was trying to sell our house. And then I had 16 employees I was in charge of, and my tongue was this high. So basically, I had no sisters, so I had to take care of my mother. Everybody used to say, yo, I'm gonna pray for you, pray for you. I said, I need some help. I need someone to help me. Prayers are great, but I needed help. And I managed. God helped me through all that. He sent me all the angels. And my biggest pride was to watch her last breath. I watched my mother pass away. And I was so blessed that I was able to take care of my mother. So I've been very blessed to work with James Hunter, Derek Hammond, and all these great film producers. With Yachty, Charlie, Noy, all these people. And I've been blessed to do small bit parts. So I've come out in a lot of movies as an actor. You can see my ear for a second or my nose, you know. Um, but I've also produced, executive produced a couple of movies. I produced a lot of movies, co-produced a whole bunch of movies. And like I said, we're gonna have a red carpet event for Carrollton. And I'll have big plans for my company, Uderis 2 Productions. And myself and Victor, we plan to take all the songs off the shelves from 40, 30 years ago, update them, have other people write them, and we're planning to, do big things. And you just watch out, we're coming. The old fogey ain't dead yet, so we're coming back.